Hey, Wheel of Time people. I am Dad Swain Sedai, and I am going to be reviewing with us episode 6 of season 3 of the Wheel of Time. So I'm really excited. Season 3, episodes 1 through 5 are currently on my computer, and they will be available on my channel momentarily or soon. But for right now, we're already on episode 6, heading into 7 and 8. So I really want to get into my feelings on these things. So I've taken some still pictures of the episode, and we're just going to go through and kind of figure out what happened in the episode, what may be coming up, and some theories and stuff. I have read the books many times, but I try to approach the show, if I can, in just a show mode. But I may spoil some things, so be a little bit aware of that. What I usually try to do in these is touch on what happened in the show, and then towards the end of the video, maybe talk about how it compared to what was going on in the books, what things were different, what things I liked, what things I didn't. And so here we go. We open up with little Leandrin, and we've had hints of what's going on in Leandrin's former life before she became an Aes Sedai. And so this is a little peek into that. And so she's holding the hand of her little baby. She's very concerned because she doesn't want whoever it is that she's afraid of, he doesn't like loud noises or screaming or whatever. So she's kind of like, be quiet, baby. And the baby is not listening to her. So she holds his hand, and then he kind of calms down a little bit, and she calls him Aludrin. And so she names the baby. Obviously, that doesn't go very well in that scene. I guess the guy who got her pregnant, he is going to drown the baby, and she's not too keen on that. So she channels for the first time, and she slaughters both the guys that come in to take her baby. And so she screams and she channels and she kills the first guy. And then later she's walking through the city and we see Ishamael. And Ishamael kind of pops into her dream and is like, hello, do you need some help? And she says, yes, of course. And so he holds out his hand, and that's cool. Now, on the opening part of this, we see that this is 95 years ago, and we know that Ishamael has been released from the seal that he was bound in not too long ago, maybe months ago. So this was a little confusing, but I believe that because the seals were weakening, Ishamael was able to at least touch on Tel'aran'rhiod. And so that's where he was kind of like affecting things before he was able to escape his prison. So even though he couldn't walk in the world physically, it looks like, because you can kind of see behind him, it's a little blurry. I know the picture is blurry, but behind him was also blurry, and there was those weird kind of like shift things that happen in the dream. And so it indicates that he's in Tel'aran'rhiod or some form of dream, and he's helping Leandrin there. We jump into current Leandrin, and she is in the world of dreams, and she's on the Amelin seat. Ooh, Leandrin. And so over here, if you watch the scene, there's somebody that moves. They're in the dark, and they move. And then we find out that Lanfear is up on one of these ledges. And so I know you can jump about in Tel'aran'rhiod, but I do think that was probably Moghedien, because she's also in the world of dreams, and I think she was kind of spying on the Black Aja sisters in their dreams. I could be wrong, but I'm pretty sure that little figure that moves in the shadows, if you pay attention, is Moghedien. And then, of course, we see Lanfear kind of up here in a minute. And she jumps down really fast, so again, you can be wherever you want to in Tel'aran'rhiod. So she's talking to Leandrin, she's like, hey girl, turns out the other Forsaken are probably interested in you guys, the 5 of you Black Aja sisters, and I need to know which one it is. Is it Ravin? Is it Samael? What's going on? Leandrin doesn't know anything about it. She's kind of trying to play a little game. I think the Black Aja sisters, especially Leandrin, don't really have a grip on how strong the Forsaken are. So she's going to try to maneuver and manipulate a little, and Lanfear is not having it. And so in this scene, I loved the dynamic between them. Lanfear kind of kicks her around a little bit. She makes her taste her shoe, stuff like that. It's just like, oh my god, okay, this lady knows at least how to manipulate the dream better than I do. And so we figure out that the Black Aja has mainly been Ishamael's project, and so she didn't know that Ravin, had any sway in the Black Aja or anything like that. So Lanfear's kind of like, okay, cool. Well, they've gotten to one of you, and you need to figure out who it is by tomorrow, or it's really going to be bad for you. So she gets her sisters together. We have Jin, Kaid, we have Naomi, and over here that you can't see are the other two, Chesmal Emery and Ispan, I believe. And of course that's Liandrin, and she's showing them a picture. This picture is very interesting. It is the statue that little Liandrin was laying on when she fell asleep, and Ishamael found her. So the complete statue is the man with the thingy. Oh my god, I can't even remember what that thing is called. It's not a bracelet, it's a collar. And these are the bracelets, and there's two of them. And it looks like Liandrin was saying this is ancient, even before Tenchiko was like really there. So this was way, 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 way back. And that probably makes sense because way, 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 way back was when before they went to Shanchan, and so they would have access to these, kind of Shanchan before it was Shanchan types of ter'angreal and stuff. Anyway, this was two bracelets connected to one collar on a man, and it allowed two channelers to control the man. And that is what Liandrin wants. She wants to control the dragon. Uh-oh, good. So she says, we've already got one of the bracelets that was in the White Tower. We need to find the other bracelet, and we need to find the collar. And we need to do it by tomorrow, by the way, just to let you guys know, because Lanfear will be really upset if I don't give this to her. I love Mogedion, by the way. I just love Mogedion. She's in the background a lot in here, posing as this servant girl, and she's just peeking over her shoulder like, what's that all about? And they don't care about the servant, so they're not paying attention to her, but she has these quirky little moments that I just absolutely adore, where she was looking at the picture as well. We jump over to Min, Elaine, Matt, and Nynaeve, who's a little bit off screen here. And they are getting ready to go out into Tenchiko. They're ready to figure out what's going on, to mingle a little bit and get some information. They're trying to find the Black Aja, and they're trying to find where they are and what they're after. And they also know about this bracelet, and so they would need to find it before the Black Aja does. There's a fun little moment where Matt, this little veil, Nynaeve was playing with it first. And these two, who are absolutely hysterical, are kind of like, I don't think, Nynaeve, that's a good idea, because it'll let people, it indicates anyway, the number of beads indicates the price for something. Probably some, you know what I mean? All right, so Matt takes it instead. And so they've got their stuff together. Elaine is telling them, a little bit about things, and Nynaeve is like, okay, cool. So Matt, you go do your thing. Min, you use your visions to do something else, and Elaine and I will figure this out. And what's interesting is they don't really hold to that plan. So Nynaeve and Min end up together. Matt and Elaine end up in the little dangerous area doing their thing. So the plan shifts. Who knows? All right. I love this little dynamic between Matt and Nynaeve. You can see this is such a great face, by the way. I absolutely love these costumes too. This is a fantastic costume on Zoe. But after Matt kind of makes fun of her for the veil, she's kind of like, oh, all right, whatevs. So she's lightening up a little bit, which I think is delightful. And now we're over into the Isle Waste, and the Dreamwalkers are still teaching Egwene. Basically, right now they're chastising her because they're saying, listen, we said don't go into Tel'aran'rhiod, and what did you do? You went into Tel'aran'rhiod. And so this is Melaine, and she's like, I thought Aes Sedai can't lie. And then Egwene says, well, I'm not even an Aes Sedai, I was lying about that too. So, all the truth is out, right? The truth will out. And so it all comes to a head, and basically Egwene is like, listen, Lanfear's in my dreams, some Shadow Soul Forsaken is in my dreams, somebody's in my dreams, and I need to know how to make it better. And they're trying to get her to understand that in the world of dreams, in Tel'aran'rhiod, Lanfear is far more powerful than Egwene is. And so they're trying to get her to realize that inside Egwene's dreams, if she can learn to control her dreams the way that dreamwalkers do, then she has the high ground. She has the ability to control her own dreams. And so that makes it a lot safer in case Lanfear jumps into her dream. She has way more control. But I don't know if Egwene's quite getting that. So she keeps on asking them, teach me how to be powerful. And Tel'aran'rhiod and Bear and Melaine are both like, listen, girl, you can be really powerful in your own dream, and you can be powerful in Tel'aran'rhiod, but Lanfear is way more powerful than you in Tel'aran'rhiod, so focus on your own dreams, girl. Here's Lanfear, of course. She is talking to Moiraine. She jumps into her dream, or she pulls her into Tel'aran'rhiod. We're not really sure, but Lanfear is pretty skilled, so we're not sure what she's doing exactly. We know that Moiraine is a little bit nervous, and Lanfear is picking up on that. She's kind of like, do you think I'm going to eliminate you? And she's basically like, you need to keep Egwene away. Also, I'm sending, some kind of a surprise. You need to let Rand handle it. I know that's real difficult for you. Shade! She's shading her. So here's this little girl. Look, I don't even like children at all, but this girl really is adorable and cute and getting into my heart. And so basically, this is a little Aiel girl. She's kind of connected with Rand al'Thor. She loves her squash. She wants to be a maiden. Basically, she's kind of like asking Rand a little bit about what's a sheep herder. She's never seen a sheep before. Stuff like that. And it's a really cute little scene. And also, Rand makes a mistake, and he grabs a spear. She's training herself, or at least trying to train, to be a maiden of the spear, and he's not allowed to touch her spear. So he has broken her G, and that's her honor. And she says that, Rand al'Thor, you have really messed up my honor. And Rand, instead of making fun of her because she's a kid, he really takes it seriously and is like, I'm really sorry. I have toe. Remember, toe is the obligation part. If you mess up, you need to fix the obligation. And so she basically is like, whenever these squash are ready, you're going to help me pick them, and that's how you're going to fix this. And so that's really, really cute. Avienda, I love, is sort of softening up a little bit in terms of she was a warrior. She's a maiden of the spear. She really is not happy that she's had to become this apprentice wise one and learn how to be a wise one, especially not because she has to teach Rand al'Thor how to be an Aiel. But this little scene between Rand and the girl is, making her kind of like cutesy. She's like, aww. And so basically, it's adorable. This particular part was when the girl was like, hey, what's a shepherd? What do they do? Like, do they do something with sheps? And it was cute, and it was just a fun play on words. And Avienda, obviously, will have to oversee an entire, hold one day, Aiel hold one day when she becomes a real wise one. And so this is her kind of getting into the social part of, what she's going to have to do as a leader in the amongst the Aiel as a wise one. I don't know, this is nothing except it's gorgeous, so I just wanted to include it. That's just amazing to me that there's places like this in the world. I don't believe this is much CGI, maybe the rays of the sun, maybe there were rays of sun coming through those clouds, but, this looks like a place that is real. I mean, because it is, but it's just absolutely stunning that there's places like this on Earth that are there for us to see. Gorgeous. All right, so we're back in the Two Rivers, and we have everybody kind of like freaking out because Perrin got stabbed. He needs Alanna to heal him, but Alanna's been porcupined by a bunch of arrows, and there is no one to heal her. So basically, Faile is here saying, listen, go get Alanna, he needs healing. And then this is Meryn, I believe, Egwene's mother, and she's like, I'm sorry, but Alanna, it really is not in any position to heal anybody right now. There she is, and she does look like she's not really ready to heal anybody. Maxim is very worried. this Two Rivers lady is helping her out, and so we're concerned because the Aes Sedai with the one power is not able to do anything. She's been shot with arrows, so that is really concerning. We get a little glimpse of the return of Perrin and Faile with some Trollocs and some dark friends. This lady here is going to be important later on. I don't think it's a big spoiler, but in the books, there's a dark friend assassin who plays a particularly mediocre sort of role in the books, but she's noticeable, and I believe that is her. So we'll probably see more of this lady. And we'll definitely see more of this man. And probably this Trolloc right here. Alright, we're back in Tanchico. Elaine and Matt are in the nasty district. Ooh, and so this man is trying to get under her veil. And she's put on a Tanchico accent. So she is very, very British, very royal, very whatever. And now she's kind of Cockney, kind of chav, kind of whatever. And it's really fun to listen to. And so she's basically telling him, I don't think you know anything about women anyway. And they're kind of like, oh yeah, you're a Tanchico lady. We have Matt being a slut. And so he is trying to figure out where the bracelet and the collar are. And by his way of doing that is to talk to this gentleman. And that guy is definitely into Matt. And Matt is being flirty, and that is, I don't know how people are going to take that, but it really is fun to watch because Matt's kind of like opening up his shirt a little bit and kind of being like, yeah, maybe the jewelry would look good on this body, and whatever. And so it is really interesting to watch. Very funny how Matt's kind of like playing with the I guess not necessarily the sexuality of it, but he doesn't mind flirting with a guy to get information, and I find that very fun and interesting. He's also being flirty here. I just thought that this facial expression was really cool. So Donalfin is doing a great job as Matt. And I think this is really just a funny little sequence. But basically he was kind of like, yeah, this piece of jewelry, this guy is like, is it for a lady friend of yours? And Matt's like, it's for a man, a strong, sexy man like me. And so it's just a fun little scene. All right, we get a return of Tom Maryland. So Matt hears somebody singing and he's like, I know that voice. And so he follows the voice and we see Tom Maryland is the one singing about the Horn of Valia. And so I thought that was really interesting that Matt was the one that found Tom, since he is the one who blew the Horn of Valia, and Tom was singing about the Horn of Valia. So I thought that was a cool little tie-in. Basically, Tom is like, whatever you guys are up to, I'm not interested. And Matt is trying really hard to get him to go with. He basically pulls the same thing that Tom did in season 1, and he says he grabs his coin purse. And then as Tom walks away, he's like, okay, come have a beer with me. Nynaeve and Min are having a beer together anyway. Min gets Nynaeve like 2 drinks, and she's this gesture she's doing. She's like, you need to lighten up a little bit, shake it off, let your braid down, I think is what she says. And so basically this is a fun little sequence where our characters are on a journey. They are looking for the bracelets and the collar, but at the same time, they're kind of giving themselves a little bit of space to have a bit of fun and to laugh a little bit and to lighten up, which is what Min is trying to do. They have a little chat about Min's visions, and Nynaeve is talking to her about, you can't really control the visions. Is that okay with you? And Min is saying, yeah, it's not really anything I can do anything about. So there it is. And we've seen this kind of play out throughout the season where Nynaeve is confronted with different variations of the same message, which is if you're trying to control, then you need to let it go. You need to let go of that because it's not going to help you break through your block. They're not saying that necessarily, although some people are. But basically, in order to break through this block, it is an issue of control. And at some point, you're going to have to let go of that control, Nynaeve. Here's a cute guy. I just thought he was cute. But he is the one that Min saw the vision of. And she gets some information for him about where Liandrin and the Black Aja is. I just thought he was adorable, so he gets a little feature in my video. All right, here's Naomi. And Leandrin is talking to her about, first of all, like, isn't she gorgeous? She's absolutely gorgeous. And so you kind of see in the mirror, the reflection, Leandrin is talking to her about this weave that she's done. She says, listen, I saw the girl and she seems fine. Like, you've erased her entire memory. She seems very content. Is there a way to kind of, fine tune the weave a little and then erase one or two things instead of the entire block? And Naomi is like, are you okay, girl? You okay, girl? You need something erased? But essentially, she says there's no real way to do that. Whoever has that knowledge is long dead in the Age of Legends. She's like, basically, all I can do is wipe everybody's memory. This is a little nod to the books. I thought that was cute. It's not... So this is Chesmal Emery. And we have Moghedien again as the servant, just walking through the palace, being absolutely disgusting, by the way. She's spitting in people's food. She's like eating food and then regurgitating it back into the cake or the plate or whatever. She's just being filthy and weird and strange. And it is Moghedien to a T in the show. But she passes this lady, Chesmal Emery. In the books, it was a different character. Again, it's not a big detail. It doesn't really matter. But the cat is the detail that I thought was funny, because that was one thing that was noticeable, and kind of the way that they found the Black Aja. In some senses, they were like, oh, one of them really likes to have cats or heal cats or something like that. So that was a fun little, oh, look, a cat thing. There she is, being strange. That is Moghedien, just... She's so weird. Oh my goodness. Okay. Yeah, Moghedien's just being weird. What a weirdo. Alright, Egwene is back in her dream, and the Wise Ones are trying to get her to kick them out of her dream. They're trying to teach her that in her dream she has complete control as long as she believes she has complete control, right? And Egwene is just, she can't really get it. She's like, I'm trying. No. And so, no shade to Egwene, but she just doesn't understand what they're trying to teach her. And so basically Bear was like, listen, if you want us out of the dream, believe that we are out of the dream, and we will be out of the dream. And so Egwene, the light bulb goes off. She's like, I think I get it. And kaboom, she tosses them out of the dream. Now, there's something Bear says later, or Melaine or something. And because we're coming up on an Egwene Lanfear moment in the dream. So Egwene does this, and then later the Aiel Wise Ones are like, we couldn't get back in. Like, she kicked us out and we couldn't get back in. So I'm unclear if Egwene kicked them out and then Lanfear prevented them from returning, or if Lanfear kicked them out and Egwene just thought it was her that did it. Because we can see Egwene is very proud of herself. She's so excited. And then immediately she gets stuck with Lanfear. So I think there's a possibility that Lanfear kicked the Wise Ones out of Egwene's dream and then yanked Egwene into Teleranroad, where we know that Lanfear is much stronger, right? So, interesting kind of points. We have Egwene back in her Shan-Chan, her Damane outfit and her Damane hairstyle. And she's tied to the same wheel that Lanfear tied Rand to. So, this is probably a fun, little... I don't know if it's an Easter egg. I don't think that's an Easter egg. I'm not sure what it would be called. But a throwback, maybe? But basically we're saying that Egwene is tied to the wheel, Rand is tied to the wheel. It could be literally that they are both tied to the wheel, and Lanfear knows it. But look at Natasha's face. So Natasha's the lady who plays her, obviously. She really is giving this sort of scary, Lanfear's like not happy that Egwene is playing around in the dream. She's not excited that Egwene is pursuing Rand. She really wants her out of this picture. The pin drops. Remember the pin and the candle? And then Egwene wakes up. And so she's sitting there, and Bear is like, she's really at her wit's end. She's like, listen, Egwene. She's like, if you believe something, then it is so in your dream. Until Aranriod is completely different, but if you are in your dream, you have the power. If you believe this thing happens, then it happens. If you don't believe something is whatever, then it doesn't happen. Things like that. She's like, do you get it? Do you understand? And Egwene does understand. So she's like, I do get it. I do understand. And she's like, let's try again. And then the wise ones are like, okay, maybe. I mean, I don't think it's fair that some men look like that. He's so cute. Oh my goodness. Hi, Yosha. Okay, so Rand is talking to Moiraine. He's like, we haven't really spoken since Ruidin. And Moiraine is trying really hard to get Rand to trust her or to connect again. They did have a connection after they came out of Ruidin. Remember, they kind of had the little look that was basically like, oh, we have been through it, girl. We have been through it. And so she's talking to him because he says, look, I know some stuff. And Moiraine is like, I know some stuff from going through the rings. He knows some stuff from going through the columns. And basically he's like, I do recognize that little glowy ball thing that you have, which is the Sakanin. And then she's like, oopsie, okay. So then she asks Rand, what do you do with all this power? When I am playing with Sakanin, I have access to an enormous amount of the one power, much more than I'm used to. And I feel as though I'll be swept away from it. And Rand is speaking from his experience in dealing with Saidin. And Moiraine is coming from a perspective of dealing with Saidin. And they're different halves of the one power. And Rand is trying to say, listen, this is how I deal with it. I grab the one power and I hold on for dear life. And then I do what I can with it. And Moiraine is like, well, that's not exactly what we do. But Rand is saying, look, there's a lot of different ways to deal with the one power. That's what I'm learning from the Forsaken and the Aiel. So, maybe don't submit. Maybe don't do that. I don't know if that's good advice or not. It sounds like terrible advice when you're dealing with Saidin, but I also don't know how the show is approaching the male and female half of the power, if they're going to give a little twist on it or something like that. But as of this right moment, with just what I know about the one power, I feel like that's really bad advice. I hope Moiraine does not listen. But we also see that when Rand is talking about his struggle with controlling Saidin, the ground starts to vibrate, these things fall over, and Moiraine is a little concerned as she's like, hey Rand, maybe don't do that. And then he's in a little trance, and she's like, Rand! And then finally he's like, oh, what? Oh, yeah. And then everything stops. I thought this was a neat little nod because we see the vibrations on the ground as he's dealing with Saidin and it's kind of like flowing through him and stuff. We also saw the same phenomenon vibrations when they were in Ruidin. And it was kind of like a thumping or like a, have you ever seen those drums where they have like the sand on the drums and when they're beating them, the sand kind of like that? It kind of looked like that. And it made me think of Ruidin where they showed the ground and it had those same sort of vibrations and movements of fog and stuff. It was pretty cool. All right, so we have this Hardy McBody and Faile, and they're talking about Faile's past. And this, oh my Jesus, oh my Lord, okay, so my book brain kind of took over, and I'm sorry to tell you, I could not get behind this scene. Okay, so first of all, the scene was beautifully acted. I think that Isabella is doing a phenomenal job playing Faile. I didn't even like Faile in the books, and I'm really invested in her in the show. So she really is doing a fantastic job. However, there's this thing that she says about her mother being a dark friend and killing her brother. And that it's a real deviation from the books. And most of the time, I don't care because I feel like the payoff from the change is great. Every time that I've seen a change and I see the payoff, I'm like, I get it. I totally understand. In this case, I do not understand what the payoff is. And I have to say, just spoils, in the books, her mother is not a dark friend. She doesn't even have a brother. And I think it's the fact that her mother and her father would like never choose the dark. You know what I mean? In the books. And so I feel like in that respect, I had a hard time understanding how she came to that conclusion of joining as a dark friend and trying to recruit her own daughter and killing her own son. It didn't make sense to the character from the books, and that's just my book brain taking over, and I didn't know what to do. So I was like, I don't know about this scene, except that it's beautifully acted. Marcus and Isabella have a lot of great chemistry, and I'm super jealous because look at Marcus's arms, and I love it, I love it, I love it. Okay, here's another boyfriend that I have in the show. This is Dane J. Duffy Bornhold. And he is a hot mess. Look, first of all, we have Natty in the background still on this, kebab. And so I think that this is a huge struggle for him because Perrin was like, listen, I thought you were a good guy. And he was like, I was a good guy until you came along. And I think that's an internal struggle that he's going through. You know how put together he was before? His hair was flowing and golden. It was great. Now he looks a hot mess. He's not in uniform. I know he's injured, but when you look at some of the other pictures in this scene, everybody else is in their uniform. Their uniforms are pristine, and he is just this raggedy, horrible, mess, this disheveled mess, and he's drinking a lot, which I get, but he is drinking a lot. He's really going down a dark path mentally. Here comes Pat and Faile and a bunch of people, and they're all bloodied up. Okay, here's my theory. I thought he said he came across some Trollocs. I don't think he would kill his own Trollocs just for the fun of it, although this is Pat and Faile, so that could be exactly what happened. But these are his dark friends for sure. And I really think that this blood is... Remember they said that there was a group of White Cloaks coming to reinforce this camp here. And it's my thought that they intercepted that group of people and slaughtered them, which is where they got all this blood, and then basically just took over their positions and said, okay, here we are, we're here to help. So Valda and Dane Bornhold are kind of like, okay... he's saying you got some trouble in the Two Rivers. I think we can help with that. But that's what I think happened. Okay, we're back in Tanchico. Tom is kind of like, what did you mean when you said Rand was the dragon reborn and you blew the horn of Valyr? So he's kind of like, wow, you guys are under some huge adventures. But he also makes this interesting statement where he says... you're pulling on the pattern, or the pattern is pulling on you, whichever it is. I don't want any part of it. But basically, it's a callback to the idea of ta'veren. We talked all about ta'veren in season 1. I think we mentioned it a few times in season 2, but it's kind of faltered off. And basically, the idea of ta'veren is that the pattern weaves itself around a person. So that person is very important. And so we said Rand was a ta'veren, Matt's a ta'veren, Perrin's a ta'veren. I think in the show they're saying that Egwene is a ta'veren and Nynaeve is a ta'veren as well. And so the pattern is moving around these people. And Tom really is the first person in a while to kind of look at it and say that something is going on with you guys, and it's huge, and I really don't want to be any part of it. All right, so this song is one of my favorite things in the whole world. Elaine basically kind of gets called out. They're like, you're the daughter of Andor, right? And she's like, oh, no. And then basically they're like, Tom comes to her rescue and says, this is my apprentice. They said, if you're an apprentice, go ahead and sing. She picks a song called The Hills of Tanchico, and she begins to sing it. And this is the moment that she realizes, which is so typically Elaine, she realizes that what she is singing about, the hills of Tanchico, are not hills at all, but they're boobies. The hills of Tanchico. And the lyrics reflect that. And all the women that Elaine can see are like, this is a great song for Tanchico. Everybody loves it. They're like, I get it, we get it. Elaine didn't get it. So she's singing it. And basically, in the middle of her singing it, everybody's like rubbing their breasts and stuff. And she's kind of like, oh, the hills of Tanchico. But, she quickly adapts and she's like, shimmying and having a good time or whatever. But I just thought this was an incredible acting moment with Kira, where she is singing and then she's like, why is everybody rubbing their breath? Oh, it was just delightful. There she goes. There's her boobies. That's what she was seeing, and then she realizes what the Hills of Tanchico was. And Matt, I think, also kind of realizes what it is, and of course, he thinks it's fantastic. Not even my men are drunk. The gentleman behind her knows a little bit about Leandrin, and so that is kind of like the rest of the scene. Nynaeve is like, why don't you tell us a little bit about that? And so he gives them a lot of information about Leandrin. Leandrin is pretty sure that Naomi is the one that Lanfear was talking about. So she has played around with Naomi's compulsion weave or memory weave or whatever that is. I think it's compulsion. I would say it's like rough compulsion. Like it has no finesse to it. It just gets in your brain and erases everything. True compulsion allows a person to control your mind or influence you heavily. The more talent that you have with compulsion, the easier it is to control a person. And in this case, compulsion is something that's been forbidden by the Tower, and so they've kind of worked it out a little. Even Leandrin was saying, I've been experimenting and playing around with this weave that you have. And then she basically is threatening Naomi and saying, why don't you tell me a little bit more about what you know? And so she does. At that point, Leandrin kills Naomi because that's what Lanfear told her to do. And also she says, listen, I don't really need your high... Naomi's like, I have friends in high places, basically. She's like, I don't really need your friends in high places because I'm going to be one of the Forsaken myself. And I like that because in the books, again, it's not necessary, the books, inform the show, but... they make changes for the adaptation, it's fine. But in the books, Leandrin does mention to the Black Aja sisters that she thinks they could overpower one of the Forsaken at least. She's like, they have weaknesses. We could all overpower them if we work together, and we could be chosen ourselves. And so that, I think, is a good nod to that little, they kind of pulled that from Leandrin's character. And so she basically is saying, listen, some of the Forsaken are dying, and so I may as well just go ahead and be a Forsaken. Alanna realizes, or Maxim kind of realizes, that the girls can channel. And so Alanna, even though she's basically dying, she goes into teacher mode and kind of teaches them how to embrace the Source. This is the Natty Cawthon's girls, Matt Cawthon's sisters. And together, they're able to channel the One Power and heal Alanna, which I thought was really cool. I know that healing is a little difficult to do. It's a very complex weave. But I also know that there's a lot of people in the books who kind of do things without, before they got trained how to do it. They just do it out of instinct or out of whatever. And Alanna's kind of guiding them and saying, listen, imagine the power knitting up, the wounds. And she's guiding them through it. She's not necessarily saying, use spirit, use fire, use air, use whatever. But in their kind of raw openness to the One Power, she's able to guide them, at least through their imagination, to mend up her wounds, which they do. Here's Perrin again. Look at this chest. Like, he's been working out. I love it. Anyway, the point of this is that Perrin and Faile have a moment. She asks him about the golden eyes. He tells her about being a wolf brother. And then he asks her if she's really serious about finding the horn, which she says she is. And he tells her basically, well, my friend Matt found the horn. He shows her the picture that they painted of Matt. And then she's kind of like, how can you let me... La, 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 la? And then he kisses her. And she says this really cute line where she's like, Perrin, that's not very fair. And then they start making out, and it's great. And then Alanna comes to heal Perrin. We jump back to Tanchica. They're all having a great time. Look at Min just shimmying up on people or whatever. But basically they all get together and they say, okay, listen, we've got some information. So let's ditch this party and go talk for a minute. And then this gentleman again is like, hey, Matt, remember when you were being a slut and you were talking to me about this bracelet? Well, what do you know? I found it. And so he says he found the bracelet. Remember that Nynaeve already has one of the bracelets. No, I'm sorry. Does she? No, Leandrin and the Black Aja have a bracelet. Now they have the second bracelet. And excuse me, but this is absolutely unfair to have a body like that on my earth and not be in this room right now. Unbelievable. All right, Moghedien jumps into the dream, and that's Ispan. And Ispan apparently is also working with the same Forsaken that Naomi was, which is probably Ravin. And so Moghedien's like, why don't you just tell me what you guys were doing, and then I'll be on my way, and it'll be fine. And so Ispan's like, listen, they found out about Naomi, they killed her, and so Moghedien kills Ispan. In the dream, it's brutal. She pops her eyes out and stuff, or pulls her cheeks in, or something like that. It's crazy. Here's Moghedien finding Nynaeve and Elaine, and you can see the difference between the weaves of compulsion that Liandrin and Naomi were using and these weaves of like true compulsion that Moghedien is very familiar with. So she's weaving these around. You see that it still jumps into her mind, but it's not that drill, that bore that goes into the mind. It kind of sweeps around, it gets into their head or whatever. I also thought there was just this slight moment when Moghedien starts to channel that they look concerned, kind of like they can see the weaves and they're like, what is happening? But they don't have enough time to react before the compulsion gets on them. But I thought that was a really interesting little detail that I think I saw, but I'm not sure. So these are the faces of Moghedien. Listen, this scene cracked me up because first of all, it's a beautiful scene of hilarity, really. It's terrifying because Moghedien has them in this weave of compulsion and they are doing what she wants them to do. And basically she's like, we're so happy to see each other. We're so and they're like, and this is one of the Forsaken. And she's like, tell me everything you know. And they do, because they're under the compulsion. But she's making these faces that I find absolutely hilarious. And so the girls are kind of these giddy, they want to tell the information, right? And so when Moghedien asks the question, they're kind of like, you know what? We're not even Aes Sedai. We're accepted. And so Moghedien is listening, and she's like, oh, these faces that I love. So here's a few of the faces that I saw. She's kind of talking about, she said the Amelin is the only one who the Amelin trusted only us to do this. And Moghedien's like, and then she's like, we're not even Aes Sedai, we're accepted. And she's like, really? It's just so delightful. She's just got all these faces that she's doing. Ooh. It's hilarious to me. And so I thought it would be funny to see all of her faces. This actress, Laia Costa, is just doing a smash job of being Moghedien. I think it's wonderful. I think it's great. I can't get enough of it. Uh-oh. Nynaeve is resisting the compulsion. And so when she goes to get the bracelet, Nynaeve is pulling back. And Moghedien is kind of like, you're fighting me. But Nynaeve gives in, and she does give her the bracelet. And then Moghedien basically says, you won't even remember any of this. Just, I came to the door. It was the wrong door. I left. And that is exactly what happens. All right, Rand and Egwene finally break up. Egwene realized, she was in the dream with Lanfear. She realized what was happening. She saw them in the dream anyway. She goes to see Rand. She's basically like, so you were banging Lanfear this whole time. I thought we came here to escape. And Rand's kind of like, as soon as you got here, you left to go learn the dream. And basically they realize, okay, I think it's over. Samael shows up in the middle of this breakup. And I thought this was interesting. Samael is coming through a gateway. And we saw Moghedien in season 2, at the end of season 2. She basically, or the end of season 1? No, the end of season 2. Moghedien is released, and she kind of like gets Lanfear in the web. And then when she goes away, she has these dark clouds and stuff, and she gets... Whew. And then this season, we've seen them use the weave to open up this portal, which is different from the cloud portal, right? And so I was looking in here and trying to see, is this the Aiel waste and its sunset? Or is this some other place that Samael was? Like, I don't know, some place with, bright skies and whatever. So it's kind of tough to tell. But it looks like he's coming from the Aiel waste somewhere into where Rand and Egwene are. All right, so he brings in some Aiel as well. Egwene channels. She knocks some people out. It's great. Avienda channels? What? So basically, Avienda can channel as well, which is the first time we've ever seen her channel. She makes her spears into fire spears. She kicks some ass. It's pretty great. She also stabs Samael. Look at this. This is amazing. I love this. It's really, really good VFX, by the way. All right, so Rand, they all get knocked outside, and Rand begins to channel. This is a shield. So behind this shield, Samael is using like a club sort of thing to blast Rand. And he puts up a shield real quick, but he's blowing the one power at him. And so Rand begins to channel. You can see the darkness around him. He's going crazy with these weaves. It's great. He is pulling the weaves down. He's very fixated on them. Again, Samael is back here, like, blowing the one power into the shield, trying to break it. And he's just over here mesmerized by these things. I absolutely love that I caught this at this exact moment. But basically, that's Samael. These weaves turn into lightning, and they lightning him. And he is dead, girl. Just dead. He is a dead body. But Rand is also kind of like, I'm really fascinated. Unfortunately, in that, it got blown up, and the little girl with the squash, she was up on the top floor when that happened. So I guess the lightning, brought it all down, and she is dead. And Rand is not excited about that. So he's trying to use the one power to bring her back. Basically, he's saying, look, the prophecies say I destroy, but I also create. So I'm going to bring her back to life. She's dead. He's not happy about it. He's devastated, really, because they had a really cute connection and stuff. And so he's weaving the one power into her. And you can see Egwene is kind of like, what? No, that's not good. Like, Rand, she even tells him, like, Rand, you can't do that. Like, she's dead. You can't bring the dead back. And Avienda is shocked as well. And he's losing it. He's going crazy. And so, again, he's pulling all these weaves. Moraine has kind of joined. Lan is over here. He's pulling all these weaves into this girl's dead body. It's very shocking, and it's devastating because he's just trying. He's screaming. He's crying. He's laughing. He's losing his mind a little bit. He's just pulling the one power into this body, trying to make it alive again. You can see Moraine is kind of like really concerned and sort of horrified. This is horrifying. He's putting the one power into this girl's body. She's dead. He's sort of violating, not violating her body in a gross naughty way, but he's trying to undo this death, and he's making her body convulse and whatever. And it's a horrifying thing to watch for these characters and for us. And so basically she puts her hand on him and she's like, Rand, you can't do this. And I think even when she walked up, she's like, you cannot do this. You can't try to undo death. And so he's devastated. They're in shock. But there's this moment between them where she's just, she gets it, I think. She's kind of like, I'm so sorry that happened. But, you can't lose yourself like that. You can't lose yourself in the one power. We're at the end of the episode, and basically there's a waygate, and it's opening, and you see Trollocs coming out, and Bane and Chiad and Faile are up on a hill looking over, and they're kind of like, oh, this is bad. This is really bad. This is not like a scouting mission or whatever. Like, this is an army. And so they realize the Two Rivers is about to be, devastated by these massive hundreds and hundreds of Trollocs, and so they have to go back and tell them. And now they're calling Perrin Golden Eyes, and so that's what this Aiel. I can't ever remember if that's Bane or Chiad, but I think it's Bane. Anyway, she's kind of like, look, if Golden Eyes doesn't want to lead, that's too bad. He's going to have to, and so that's how we end the episode. and it's pretty exciting. I really like this episode. I think the Ruidian episode was amazing. It was like real high energy and just real, like really grabbed your mind. The Tel'aran'rhiod episode afterwards was a good sort of come down, but it also had some really juicy moments in it, which was good. And this episode again is moving us into episode 7 and then episode 8. And so it gives us a little bit more details on things, but we really are getting into the Two Rivers battle that's about to happen. And everybody's sort of back on their feet. Alanna's been healed. Perrin's been healed. Everybody's sort of getting ready for this battle. They know in Tanchica that they're supposed to go to the palace to get the whatever. And they don't really know because they were under compulsion, but Moghedien has a bracelet, Liandrin has a bracelet, and they've got to get to the Panarch Palace to get the rest of that contraption. Why can't I ever remember this word? What's it called? The collar. They've got to get the collar and try to get this away from them so that they can't use it on Rand. So I'm really stoked about the rest of this season. I'm really enjoying this show, and I hope you guys are too. I hope that helps you understand the episode a little bit better. And you will be able to see my reactions on episodes 1 through 5. Once I get them done, edited, I'll put them up. The best way to do that is to hit subscribe and maybe the little notification bell. And that way, when I put videos up, you'll be able to tell when. All right, Wheel of Timers. I hope you guys are having a wonderful day, and I'll talk to you soon. Cheers. These hills will make